Okay, thank you. I'm going to read some parts of the preamble. This is Rob Benchley. And first of all, this is the July 19th meeting of the Sconset Advisory Board. And permit me to confirm that all members anticipated on the agenda can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Sorry about the background noise. Caroline Ellis.
Yes.
Thank you. Mary Lathrop Will. I don't hear Mary. Maybe she'll be here. Angus McLeod. Clement Durkee.
Yes, present.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for your help.
Okay. All right, there's Angus. Okay, great. Okay. With anybody's permission, I'm going to forgo the reading of the COVID notice, but I declare this to be a legal and attended meeting. So having said that, good morning, everybody. And I'll take a motion for the adoption of the agenda as.
Moved. So moved.
Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye, thank you very much. And let's see, oh yeah, approval of the minutes for June 28th. I'll take a motion for that.
So moved.
All
Second.
those, thank you. All those in favor, Caroline? I got that, I heard that. Angus?
Aye.
Thank you. Clement?
Aye.
Thank you. Rob is an aye. All right. Moving to the first item on the agenda, which is, I believe, 6A, Maury Lane. I believe everybody's gotten the revised drawings for this. Thank you for putting that up, Holly. Is anybody for the applicant here that can give us a brief description of what the changes are?
Mr. Chair, I don't think anybody from Emeritus is on the Zoom. I don't see him.
Okay, well then, I guess we'll move right to the comment part of this.
Mr. Chair, may I interrupt and ask a question on, there's no reference today to the demolition or removal of the barn. Has that, is that not tracking with this, or has that been dealt with, or is that coming up later? I don't know.
I think Holly might be able to answer that.
Separate application. This was submitted first. So I would have to touch base with Kathy on the tracking aspect of things. As you all know, it's very cumbersome.
Yes.
Okay, well then I'm going to, this is Rob, and I'm going to just say that I don't find a whole lot of changes here that kind of address our previous concerns. It still takes up an awful lot of the lot. It looks just overpowering. And it doesn't seem to be very kind to the neighborhood. But that's just my feeling. If anybody else would like to comment, please do.
I'd agree with that. The changes aren't at all significant, and they don't really address the concerns of the volume and height, siding, and most of all, the overall site impact that we were concerned about, how this relates to the historic barn and vista that existed and exists today. So hopefully we'll see further revisions.
Mr. Chair, just for the record, the 6A Maury Lane move off barn to 7 Bunker Hill, which is on the agenda for the HDC. If you look on their agenda for tomorrow, under the July 6th new business, they have not gotten to it yet. So just for the record.
Okay. Thank you, Holly. So that means they haven't opened it yet. Great, good, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Caroline.
hi, I may be misremembering this, but I thought that what we asked for was an overall view, not just of this house, but of the property, so that we would understand the impact of construction on the neighbors in what is, as we said, a rural neighborhood of small houses and lots of land. We still don't know, other than this huge house, what they intend to do with the land.
That's true. Yes, I think you're right. They did, in their second application, they did provide some photographs as an addendum. Oh, there we are.
And I thought that looked just lovely, just as it is.
Yeah.
That's the land.
Right. Well, I
Mr.
sure
Chair,
wish,
Mr. Chair, I wasn't sure what they were trying to tell us about that. Of course, so that's the driveway that goes back to the house. I'm dead sure they're not going to retain it as a sand road. So I don't know what the purpose is of showing us that picture. I'm sure they intend to pave it or to, put shells down or something. So I don't know how that relates to the house. What might be helpful if you is looking at the comments that the past that the HDC said, that we said, and the HDC replied to in regards to this property at their last, when they last looked at it. Because Holly says she reports on what we've said, and then, they've got their comments after, a lot of which is the same, that this is, too big for its location, and it doesn't relate to anything else, to the score, the core of the old historic district, it's highly visible. I mean, none of these things have changed by these tiny revisions.
And I
yeah,
thought
thank you.
Robin's and Elizabeth's comments were very important to this.
That's
This
right.
is-
The comments from the abutter, Robin, I don't
Reed.
remember her,
Read, well,
Robin Reed, yeah, but she's got a married name
I
and I
know, I
can't
know.
remember it.
it is
Oh,
Reed.
sorry, this is Chris Stout, her husband.
Thank you, Chris.
She thought that Reed was a prettier name, so she kept that one. I can't disagree with her.
Well, we know who she is, but yeah, we've
And
got
you
your
as well.
comments. We've got her comments and yours were very well spoken, and they remain in here.
Well, if I may make a request to SAB, because I know HDC, having sat in now on hours and hours of meetings waiting for ours to come up, they are overwhelmed and they may not have the same recollection if SAB just notes we have the same concerns. I would ask if SAB would ask Holly to reiterate the concerns, because I think Holly did a great job when she spoke at the HDC. She faithfully transmitted SAB's concerns, and if you wouldn't mind incorporating by reference those, so that Holly could restate those with the preamble that effectively nothing has changed. I mean, I really thought this was like reading a child's menu, where it's find the difference in the picture, and in one the kid's wearing a watch and the other he's not. I mean, it was just modest changes to some fairly substantive concerns that SAB, the abutters, and HDC had. and there was really ultimately nothing changed. And I suspect that his effort in putting the driveway in was somehow, now I'm speculating, was to show lack of visibility, but I actually think it does the opposite. I mean, you really have almost the entire lot, and certainly the entire portion where the home is, visible from Maury. And if you've either biked or driven or walked down Main Street, you would also see this big suburban lot line to lot line mass from 30 Main, from 28 Main, and from 26 Main. So it's not only impacting Maury, which I happen to believe is an important street in itself, but it's also impacting, albeit from a slight distance, really all of that corridor, the entry to Sconset and Main Street.
Great, this is Rob. Thank you, Chris. That's very helpful, and I would agree that our comments are the same as they were the last time, and we don't see a lot of difference here, and it's unfortunate that the applicant or his agents aren't here to help us describe any of that. So, I don't know
Rob,
what else. Yeah. Oh, hi,
This-
Mary. Thank you.
this is Mary, finally off mute. What I would say here, just as a sort of summation of what you all have said, which is entirely accurate, is that this application this time around, to me, represents the contempt of court. I mean, this guy clearly has no respect for what he has been told before. And the submission is contemptuous because there are no changes. There has been no effort to speak to our comments of the past, specifically by acknowledging that they are tracking the demo or move off of the barn with what we've said. I mean, this really leaves a very bad taste in my mouth.
Okay, this is Rob. Thank you. Any other comments? I mean, I think we've about covered it.
Well, I just want to reiterate, Rob, sorry, Clement,
Yep.
that our comments, although we're saying the same things we said before, we want to make sure that it's not just, oh, they said the same things. I mean, we really feel strongly about this, and it's, you know, just to say it's too big and then to have them say, well, we lowered the roof line 0.5 inches or whatever they tried to do. You look at some of the comments that the HDC made, you know, too many gang windows, too many this, too much that, the chimney too dominant, the place is too dominant. You know, none of that was even addressed in this second go around. So I would suggest that this entire design gets scrapped and you know, start over with something that's more historic and in keeping with the neighborhood instead of so I agree with Mary. I don't think anybody's listening. So thank you. I will stop.
All right, Clement, thank you. And when this does get open, and I'm hoping that the HDC would feel the same way, that we get to see these drawings again when they go back, when they come back.
Rob, this is Caroline.
Yeah.
Can we reject this? I move that we reject this design.
I would agree with Caroline. Mary?
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
As an advisory board, I don't think you all have the authority to reject plans, but you can definitely, I can reiterate those comments to the commission that you feel that these plans are not substantive to the comments that were provided both by you all and the HDC. Just for the record, while I reviewed these plans prior, obviously, to this meeting, I noted that the reduction in the ridge height is anywhere between 8 inches to 1.5 feet overall. Not enough, I don't think, from everybody's perspective. That a streetscape would be helpful for the neighborhood with the elevations and styles for context, not just the photos that were submitted. Photos are great, but street context would be very helpful. And then I notate, as Clement did, about the windows comments and other comments that the commission had made. But it looks like the chimney and the main mass is more appropriate and appreciative, but that seemed to be the only really substantive change on that overall. So as far as rejecting it, again, as an advisory board, we can definitely make those comments that these are not substantive changes as requested, but can't really reject it. That would be up to the commission to make those real hardcore comments on that. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you, Holly. That's very informative, and I trust the HDC will receive our feelings on this particular application.
And for the record, I would assume you all would like to see this back, if somebody
Yeah.
can make that in their comments.
I think Clement did and Rob
Okay.
did.
Thank you.
Yes, we did do that. Thank you, Holly.
I'd like to reiterate that we desire a full comprehensive site plan with all that's proposed.
Yes.
And should it not be linked to the barn?
It should.
That's what we asked for before.
Right.
Yeah, this needs to be a package, not just bits and pieces.
Mr. Chair, since there's a lot of people here and we normally don't have this many people, I would just,
Okay.
For the record, could we have a show of hands or notation of who's here for this particular application? Okay,
Okay.
just curious. Thank you.
Okay, so we can move on to
The second
8
part.
Bag Street, and I'm guessing that Mr. McLeod is going to have to recuse himself, but I'd like to give him the opportunity to go over his changes from the last time. Angus?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Having gone through the previous review, where Sconset Advisory really didn't voice any concerns except for the functioning of the barn doors, we proceeded to HDC, where there was mostly favorable opinion about the overall design and how it sat in Codfish Park. It was held for a viewing with site poles. We put the site poles up and I took photographs and included those photographs with sort of a connect the dot photographs showing the height poles and the outline of the structure and how it affects views of it and from it and around it. I don't see those in this packet. I don't know if they're available. But what we did was to break up the mass. The original intent was for it to be a simple gable structure like many of the earliest structures in Codfish Park, and more similar to the original structure. If we had photos in front of us, you could see the original photo, one of the original photos of what the structure looked like, which was a simple long gable running east-west. So at the recommendation of HDC, we broke up the mass by dropping the south face, taking about a third of the roof line and dropping it, and then doing a shed for that portion. We still have the one dormer for the bathroom head height. The porch was removed and a pergola has taken its place, which if you go to the site plan is for the total length of the land that's in front. It's just a fraction of that that is taken up in the front yard. It is a very small lot, and this would allow them to have somewhat of a enclosed or protected outdoor living space. It's a very public space, as anyone familiar with the site knows. So that's pretty much what we did. Oh,
Okay, thanks,
the other
Angus.
thing is that the double doors that were there, it's now one single door on the south face or the east, sorry. Thank you.
Great. Angus, thank you. This is Rob. Angus, I just have one question. Some of the comments from the neighbors included a reference to a full foundation. Can you clarify that? I mean,
Yeah, so
it's not a full set, it's not a full basement.
there actually is a proposed full basement, but unless you were looking at the plans, you would never know that. I mean, it's underground, so it doesn't affect what's above ground.
Okay,
Is,
The only indication of that would be the window well on the south side that has a fence around it and the pergola partially obstructing it.
great, thank you. Clement, did I hear you?
Well,
No.
yeah, this is Clement. Angus, what I would love to see, and I, sometimes I'm challenged, is the existing house now and how tall it is and how much taller you're going. I did not see the poles put up. I saw a picture of a pole, but then I went down there to see it and the pole was gone. It'd been taken away. So now I'm just thinking about, physically how much bigger and higher you're suggesting this go.
Hopefully Holly can find when I had the photo demonstration with the height poles. I took
Oh,
it from
good.
many different angles, from the bottom of Beach Street and the top of Front Street and down Bank Street. So there are a bunch of perspectives on that. But this is, I would say, the shortest structure in Codfish Park now, at a total of 9 feet, which is what most people's sheds are. And
Okay.
Sconset Advisory and Historic Structures Advisory Board reviews sheds, utility sheds that are 21 feet high, 15 feet, 17 feet, 20 feet high. This is the single and primary dwelling. And if we could build like we were in 1800s, where there's a floor to floor height of 7 feet, this could be much more compact, but with current building codes and so forth, energy requirements with insulation, so forth, there's a minimum height to be able to be able to have a second, a loft space or a second story height. I wouldn't call this 2-story. It has a second floor, but it's the eaves are 4 feet. And really what's required for headroom up there are dormers. except in the very middle, which is where the bed is.
Thank you. Thank you for that. That helps me. And I see this picture now that you just showed us. That's very helpful.
Thank you for finding those photos, Holly. That's helpful.
Yeah, that's good. So this is Mary, we all received, or they were sent around the other day, a submission from the Van Dusen sisters who live up on Front Street above this house, or slightly to the south of it. Were those accurate renditions, would you say, Angus? They basically blocked out the new structure in a red as an indication, yes, exactly, as an indication of the height of this structure once built.
Well, if you look at the photos that I submitted, which I shared these with Jeff Gardner, because they have recently bought the house at, I believe, 9 Front and 9 Broadway. There was concern about how this was going to affect their view. And so that's why I took photographs and shared them with them. And I think he forwarded these on to the neighbors who blocked this out. And of course, nothing is going to be red. You know, this is an all natural to weather house that will be gray and blend in with everything else down there. So it's a shocking to see the red. But as some descriptions have been that this will tower over Front Street is disingenuous at best. The ridge is roughly waist high on Front Street. It's almost level with the fence that's up there that is less than 3 feet high. And it's 20 feet away from Front Street. So this is definitely not going to be towering over anything. So.
Excuse me, I'm a visitor here. May I ask a question, Mr. Chair?
Yes, if you please identify yourself for the record.
Yes, I'm George Hubbs. I live at 20 Broadway.
Thank you. Mr. Hubbs, go ahead.
How are you, Rob?
Very well, thank you.
Good.
I've got my video stopped because I'm in the Hyannis terminal right now, and but the audio's on and I'm outside. The ferry just came in, so it's noisy background.
Right.
Go ahead.
Angus, good morning to you, Angus. This is not the first time we've discussed houses, is it?
No, how are you, George?
Yeah, well, you all did a really good job on the one on Center Street. You remember that.
Thank you.
Here's my question. What is the actual height of this revised plan? Height above grade. It sounds like what you're saying is if you were standing on Front Street, the ridge line of this proposed dwelling would be at your waist. Is that right? It's what you just said.
On Front Street?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's correct. Okay. That's my only question.
So it's 21 feet, George. This is Mary. It's 21 feet above grade.
That's right. Now, I will defer to the SAB members to make comments first, and then I may have a comment later.
Thank you, Mr. Hubbs.
Thank you, Rob.
Yep. This is Rob. We've been getting a lot of applications for Codfish Park over the last 2 years, and 21 feet is pretty much what we've been pretty much has been approved consistently, and I think the HDC has been in agreement with that. So I just wanted to throw that in there.
Rob, if
Yeah.
I could just ask Holly to throw up that one slide that has the height comparisons of buildings in oh, there it is, number one. In Codfish Park, you can
Yeah.
see all these other properties, the ones that have recently, or in the, the recent past, gone through of 15, 23 R, 36 Codfish, 7 Bank. Those are all 23.5 feet. So that's 2.5 feet above what we're proposing. And then, they go up from there, 34 at 24.5 feet, and 12 Codfish more than that, and 16 Codfish more than that. So, looking at this graph, you can sort of see how the HTC has been responding to additions and new structures in Codfish Park. So we're well below the line of what's been approved.
Now, here's George again. May I ask you a question? Aren't a lot of those dwellings built on lower lying land than the land you are now working with at 8 Bank Street?
That's correct. There's a little bit of
The
elevation.
answer has to be yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, this is Rob. Any other thoughts from the SAB members? Caroline or?
This is Caroline. Sure, I'll be glad to make a comment.
Thank
I think that what Angus has done is, to me, is very much in keeping with Codfish Park. I wish everybody that was attending had been here through the past 2 years to see the struggle that we have had and the number of meetings and the number of hours that we have spent on other buildings in Codfish Park, which were so inappropriate for Codfish Park. I believe that this scale is very attractive. I think the details are very minimal, are very delicate. And I think that I hope the neighborhood will welcome these new people. That's my view of this tiny little piece of land with Gail's house on it. Anyway, that's all.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Caroline. This is Rob. If I may comment, the point I'm like to make is what's obvious to me is what this proposal doesn't have. It doesn't have a roof walk. It doesn't have a second floor deck. It doesn't have French doors. It doesn't have an enormous chimney. And so I think there's merit, especially with Codfish Park, in that what it doesn't have. And I appreciate Angus's attempt to lower that south section in accordance with the comments from the neighbors about it blocking the view. I mean, that in itself is questionable, but that's a pretty sizable percentage of the entire roof line that's now not there. So thank you. And let's see.
Rob,
Clement?
I'll say, yeah, I have one more comment that I appreciate. I know Angus is trying to keep this as low as he possibly can. So what I appreciated from his comments today were the facts that the building codes require certain levels of height before. So there's really no way to squish this down any further with the space that's needed. I also think that those big, I saw the big orange things and I didn't know where that all came from. And that is very alarming and jarring to think of that. I think when this is done, it will nestle into the bank and you will see a portion of the house from from the Front Street walk, but it will be gray and it will be shingled, and I think it will not be as horrendous as the neighbors think it will be. At least that's my hope. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Clement. Anybody else from the Sconset Advisory Board? Because I think we do want to give the opportunity for others to speak. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. Great. Okay. Holly, can you tell from your attendance list if there's somebody who would like to speak on this application?
Mr. Chair, it looks like there's quite a few people. So I guess whoever would want to speak, you want to raise your hand? Kathy, and I believe you also emailed Kathy in our office a letter to the HDC
Yes.
with a photograph. I have that and I can show that as well. So you want to speak, go for it.
I just wanted to voice my concerns. I do appreciate the fact that they've now submitted a plan where they've reduced the height on the south side, because our major concern is with the fact that it was cutting off the views from Middle Gully Road. I mean, that's an iconic road. Everyone walks down there to the beach, and there would be this looming roof across the view. But our other concern is the stability of the bank. I know that they're going to be digging a basement, and Middle Gully Road is now a emergency access for Codfish Park and Gully Road in case that gets cut off. And I know that there's some plumbing, there's some kinds of pipes that are coming down Middle Gully Road, and I want to make sure that there won't be any instability created with Middle Gully Road and the bank.
Awesome.
Mr.
Thank you.
Chair, if I could speak to that point.
Go ahead, Angus.
The construction of this work is not going to be done willy-nilly. It will be engineered as necessary to retain the bank and stabilize the cottage. So please be assured that that nothing is going to happen to the bank. The bank is not going to fall down during the construction.
And is the tree going to remain there, or because there was some concern, they thought maybe the tree and the roots were giving the bank some stability, but we're not really sure that tree would be able to remain.
That would all be part of the engineering, which hasn't happened yet because we don't know what we're building yet.
Okay.
But they appreciate the tree. I appreciate the tree. Everyone appreciates the tree. If we'll do what we can to keep the tree.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy. And anybody else have some
I do.
ideas, suggestions? Thank you.
This is George Hubbs again, if I'm next.
Go ahead, George. Thank you.
Our main concern, the two of us who live on Broadway, is the current view from Front Street that's so appreciated by visitors to Sconset and residents. And to know that the original plan was to have waist high, if you're standing on Front Street, obscured, looking directly east. That's the iconic view that was referred to. And this morning I was out there and lots of tourists taking pictures, looking directly east. And if the plan was that the major roof at 21 feet was going to be right there, it would have been right in the middle of the photos that were being taken. So from my own point of view, it's not my own view that I'm concerned about, it's the view of all people who come to that part of Sconset. Is there a way to see what the revised plan would show you if you were standing right at the top of Middle Gully Road looking east? Angus, that's probably for a question for you. If
Thank
you
you,
heard
George.
me.
Angus, if you can answer that.
I was muted, sorry.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
If you could go to one of the views from Front Street that looks straight out, like number 6. I mean, that's kind of when you align yourself with Beach Street, that's going to be your greatest vista to the water from Front Street that is perpendicular to the water. And you can see a third of, well, not the whole roof line isn't shown in this view, but if you take a third of the whole, which in this view might be half of what is shown for the ridge, would go away, you can see the other houses are obstructing the view before this one would.
No, and I was thinking of being at the top of Middle Gully Road, but I see the pole, don't I?
That's
On
the
left
pole to the
of
left.
this picture.
And
It's outlined, the original submission is outlined, I guess. Is that what that is?
That's right. So it's not showing the revised that is cut back from there. So the house right beyond the height pole would be visible in this. Holly, if it's possible to go to the other view that I think is taken from the top of Gully Road.
Yeah, Middle Gully, right. That's what I was thinking. Looking directly east or east by southeast. That's the really popular view that everybody wants to see. And they stand there for a while and they take pictures and then they push their pram with their kids down there, down below to Codfish Park. Saw it again this morning. It was that view was commented on already by Mrs. Harvey, I believe.
Yeah, the view that we were just looking at was,
that's as close as
it's
you
going to
get.
give you the best view of the water. I mean, the trees obstruct the view of the water, but that's like the widest angle until you get further south on Front Street that you really get of the water. There is a snippet between houses that are in Codfish Park that you can see further north up Front Street, but it doesn't appear that that's.
No, we don't have a camera view of that, but what it shows you is on your left, a part of the bank going up to private property, on your right, a bank going up to private property, and in the middle you have Middle Gully Road, and behind it you have the roofs of Codfish Park dwellings, and then the ocean beyond that. That's the view that you get. And
That's right.
And that my concern had been about preserving that. Maybe your change in the roof line has done that. I just can't quite tell that. So that's my first comment. Second comment, there is, with the storm systems and climate change and all of that coming, and we know that Codfish Park has already lost a couple of rows of houses, and the town had to take Middle Gully Road in order for it to be emergency access in case it was flooded and impossible to use. I personally think the town has a little bit of a legal risk here. If there's an accident in digging that basement or subsequent storms cause runoff that's excess or a subsidence of Middle Gully Road, the town could be subject to lawsuit. So I strongly urge, I don't know who the town person should be, but probably the town council assisted by an engineer, come look at that whole bank thing and protect the town from lawsuits from frankly the property owner at 8 Bank Street, or the reverse, that the town feels that the construction wasn't done properly or there was a mistake made, and subsidence or risk to the Middle Gully has happened because of what the 8 Bank Street did. You've got a two-way legal issue. I would think the town would want to have that settled in its own mind. It may not technically be an HDC issue, but it should be a town issue to make sure the risk is minimized. That's my only other comment.
That's right, George. There there isn't, this isn't the purview of the HDC or of this advisory board. But anything that is to be constructed is going to be engineered and go through all the regular channels with the building department and the town. And if anything, it's going to be a stronger foundation that will hold back the bank in case there's the added weight of vehicular traffic down that road.
Yeah, in the
More than
old
what's
days.
more than
in the
what's
old days-
existing now.
Old days, it would have been Bruce Watts driving a fire engine. Because I was there when Bruce was asked, well, Bruce, you couldn't get a fire truck down there, could you? And he gave a very salty reply, which said, you're damn right I can get a fire truck down there. And you know how heavy they are, especially if they're loaded with water. And, you know, there's risk there, probably to the owner of 8 Bank Street, if it has to be used as an emergency, and maybe to the town from the point of view of being sued. So somebody, somewhere, it's a matter of common sense, ought to do something to protect the town.
Thank you, George. This is Rob. Yeah, those are all points that I'm sure the applicant is considering, and because it is indeed part of the coastal bank, and so those issues will more than likely be addressed by either the town or the Conservation Commission. That's their purview.
Yeah, I don't know if it's part of a 100-year storm map or not, but yes, all of that.
Well, it is a coastal bank, so that may apply. Great. Thank you, Mr. Hubbs. Is there anybody else in this digital audience who would like to speak to this?
Oh, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I know I'm not in a butter. I was on for the prior meeting, so please take that for what it's worth. Though I think as the neighbors did mention, Front Street does belong to everybody, really in Sconset. The only thing I would urge the abutters, and I've known Angus for quite a bit of time, and he really does focus on sensitive design. And going through my own HDC battles here as an abutter on another property, I would just be sensitive or maybe cautionary that if it doesn't work out under Angus's design, what might come through and what the responses might be. And I think we've all seen what's gone up in Codfish Park, and I think that hopefully everybody's delighted that what Angus has put here is not what has gone up in 5 or 6 other locations over the last couple of years. And I would just be concerned, again, as just a resident who loves Front Street, what might come there if this were wholesale shot down, just with somebody else. So, again, I'm not in the butter. I'm sensitive to that. I don't want to step on anybody's toes on either side, but just having lived through this, I certainly appreciate what the neighbors are doing for Front Street and all of Sconset. But I think Angus tries to be about as sensitive as any architect in Sconset and in Nantucket. And I think the design reflects that to a degree.
Great. Thank you, Chris.
Ron, I noticed that Margaret Van Duzen has her hand up. You might not have
good.
noticed that.
Thank you. Good morning,
Margaret.
everyone. So as you know, my family owns Eastward Look, which is 7 Front Street, and it's right by the steps that go down. And like George, I'm just amazed at the number of people who stop and look at this view and have conversations. Our back door is right within earshot of where people stop there. And we also see all of the people at the very front of, or the top of Front Street as they look down. And there really isn't any question that this is going to change the look of both Front Street and the middle gully and people's experience of these, both of which are defining elements of the historic district. And we can look at Angus's house, and I know there's a tendency to do that, and it is beautiful. We don't have any quarrel with that. And, you know, if my guess is that, you know, this could be a win-win situation if there's a way to bring down the height so that it really doesn't loom over that public view shed, which we will lose forever if this house is allowed to be built at 21 feet. I don't really buy that it is not possible to build a house that isn't 21 feet tall, because when we look at down on, and that somehow this is 1.5 stories, because when we look at what's been built down on Beach Street, the one, I guess if you're looking from the Sconset Bluff, it'd be the one on the right that is being built. That is 21 feet, and that looks to me to be a full second story. And here, as far as we can tell, the overtopping of the bank will probably be by about 6 feet, and will really eliminate that view shed. I think Angus could find a way of working with the owners to really bring this down so that the roof line, or whatever the correct term is for the top of the roof, doesn't go above the Sconset bank, which would accommodate the owners in terms of a full basement with living space, a first floor, and then a second floor. And I guess a question for you, Angus, is how tall is each of these stories, or the ceilings in each of these rooms? I know in our house, we have pretty low ceilings and we bang our heads. It's not ideal all the time, but you know what? It's possible to live in a house that doesn't have high ceilings to it. So how tall is the first floor ceiling, from floor to ceiling, Angus? Because I couldn't tell from the drawings. And again, I guess at the tallest point on the second floor, again, how tall is that?
Angus, if you can answer that, that'd be great.
Thanks, Rob. I believe that the ceiling is 8 feet from the floor, and the square footage with the addition is approximately 500 square feet for the whole first floor, which, you know, really isn't enough to have a kitchen and a bathroom and a utility room and, you know, a bedroom. Everything that's there. What exists right now is an illegally small 1 bedroom and a 6-foot square kitchen. You know, the utility is a closet that is in the bathroom. It's not really like a house now. And we're not trying to create a house by current Nantucket standards. This is an appropriately scaled cottage for Codfish Park specifically. Looking back to history and bringing forward something that is more historic really than most anything in Codfish Park right now. So the height, as I've said, is 4 feet at the eaves, where in the bedroom, and the bathroom is brought up to a minimum height required by the building code in order to have fixtures up there for the bathroom. So we've pretty much done all we can to have a minimal impact as far as height. Your house that I've actually enjoyed being in when I was working on it for the kitchen does have typically low floor-to-floor heights, as much as the 19th century, early 20th century houses in Sconset did. You could have a floor-to-floor height of 7 feet, and then be able to walk around in the eave or the ridge, the highest part of the house. Your house is like this, where you can walk right underneath the ridge, and it's, you don't have to duck, but it's not a lot higher than your head height. Neither of those is legal to build now for the first floor height or the second floor height. So again, this is really meeting minimal standards for a living space.
I guess I just find it hard to believe that it is not possible to build a house anymore that is not 21 feet high. And the thing I would say about Codfish Park, because I was there in June and I saw those new buildings going up, and that obviously is going to change the look of Codfish Park. But here, where you're putting 21 feet of height right up against the bank, there's a perspective issue and a higher grade there that makes this much taller than the impact, even though I don't like the 21 or 23 feet high houses down on Beach Street that are being built. It's much more vertical when it is put in this particular location. One other thing I guess I'd like to say about this is that hardening Codfish Park, which is exactly what's going on with these tear downs and builds, and building out to the lot lines and full basements, is the opposite of building for resilience to climate change. And we can hardscape this entire area. But it definitely will eliminate any meaningful stormwater management or ability for this particular area, which is the last barrier before the bank, to absorb any of those impacts from climate change. So that's a more general comment about what is going on in Codfish Park.
I appreciate your concerns about pervious and impervious surfaces. We deal with this all the time on the advisory boards with people with their pools and pool surrounds and hardscaping. The area that we're building towards the north, less than 7 feet towards the north of the existing structure, is all patio that some of it will remain patio. But the rest would be addition. And in the front yard, the proposed patio would certainly be pervious, but it's only a fraction of the grade that's up there. So just to correct the statement, we're not building out to the property limits on any side. We're maintaining the footprint on the south side, and there's a whole triangle of land that is not going to be utilized for building to the west, the east, and to the south. So I just wanted to set the record straight, is that we're not building lot line to lot line as has been stated.
So, but it's a couple of feet that is not to the lot line then, correct?
It's a very small lot, and we are not building to the lot lines on any side.
Okay, thank you,
This-
Angus. Thank you, Margaret. Let's see, we're getting up to the noon hour, and I want to be sure anybody who's in the audience has give you opportunity to speak if you would like. Okay, I don't hear anybody. I don't see anybody's hands being raised. Somebody's,
I would like to speak.
Amy, oh,
okay, there we go.
Okay. This is Lisa Soder. I own the house at 13 Broadway, which is at the top of Middle Gully Road. I've already submitted 2 sets of comments, and I agree with all of the comments that my neighbors have made so far in writing and on this call. And I have listened to what the board has said here, and I don't think the issue is whether it's an attractive design at all. It's a beautiful house, and that's not what anybody is here to decide, I don't think. I don't think the issue is that, you know, somebody's colored in the roof line and it's red, and we know it's not going to be red. We know it's going to be just like a regular house that's in Sconset. The fact that there are other buildings that are down there that are taller, they're not at the base of the cliff. They're not at this elevation. They're not close to Middle Gully. There are going to be houses taller in other places, but this impacts the gully and the bank a lot more. And I don't think anybody has addressed the issue of building a foundation that close to the bank and what it will do to the stability of a bank that's probably already endangered. So, you know, in my comments, I asked for a couple of things. And the first one, I think all of us asked for, was a reduction in the height so that it didn't rise above the embankment. The other was a conclusion from whatever entity needs to conclude that this is not going to detrimentally impact the stability of the bank. And the third was a smaller footprint. I know it doesn't go to the very end of the property line, but it is a big structure for a little piece of land. And I think you did a great job designing Angus, but I don't think it's the right building for that particular property. Just my view.
Great, thank you, Lisa.
Can I make one last statement, Rob? And
Go ahead.
it is about the height and sensitivity about height. We have to keep in mind that if you do a cross section east-west from Broadway cutting to the water and looking at that, this is at the very back side of all the houses that are in Codfish Park. It is, there are taller houses between it and water. And then it's backed up against the bank that then rises, and anyone on the bank in any of the houses on the bank, as you all know, you'll look over this house, and it doesn't interrupt the water. It does block views of some inappropriate architecture in Codfish Park. But if a house is going to be more vertical anywhere in this whole line of view, it is about the least obtrusive place to be able to do it, where it is on the backside of all the houses in Codfish Park, away from the water and underneath the bank of everyone above. So I just want to put that out there.
Could I just say one more thing then? This is Margaret Van Dusen. I mean, the thing about this is the way Front Street works, it closes in after Middle Gully. So you get these beautiful sweeping views at the front of, or the beginning of Front Street. And then as you come down, you get the views over the houses as well, over the Codfish Park houses to the Atlantic. And those stay open until you get past Middle Gully when Front Street closes in. So this really is a change because it will close in both Middle Gully and those common public view sheds on Front Street.
Okay, great. Thank you, Margaret.
May I move that we close the meeting? This is Caroline.
All right, Caroline, yeah. we
Can I
are
just say
ready to-
something briefly? This is Helen Strong.
Oh, hi, Helen, yes. Go ahead, quickly.
You're on mute. Oop.
Am I okay now?
Yeah.
I just pretty much everything that everyone else has said, you know, I was going to say, but one thing that really strikes me, I walk down Middle Gully a lot to the beach, and it would tower, maybe it wouldn't tower over Front Street, but it would tower over Middle Gully as you come down. And I think that would look very, very strange. I mean, it's up against that bank, and then it would be higher. And I just, that really bothers me in terms of its siting. And I do worry about the stability of the bank. We renovated our house 25 years ago. I'm at 18 Broadway. And when you put a basement under a house, it elevates it some to begin with. That happened to us anyway. So I just wanted to say that that might be a factor. Thank you.
All right, Helen, thank you very much.
Can I
Okay,
just say
Holly.
that a foundation would not, if having any houses that I've restored and needed to put a foundation under, it is not necessary to raise the house or the first floor at all to make that happen.
Well, that was not our experience, but.
No, that your next door neighbor raised that house.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you, everybody. Now, Holly, this is Rob speaking. My camera's still off. Do we know, Holly, when this will be up next for the regular HDC?
Looking at their 4-page agenda for tomorrow evening. This is on the agenda tomorrow evening under old business 629. So there's a possibility that it'll be got to. Just depends on what they accomplish within their 4-hour allotment, 4.5 hours that they meet every week. So.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. And
Rob,
that'll be an in-person meeting.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay, thank you. I heard
Rob,
one more.
just quickly before everything is adjourned, this is Janet Ballou. I'm at 21 Front Street. I just would like to very strongly encourage the investigation that Mr. Hubbs suggested by either engineers or town people, not necessarily in terms of the suing part, but in terms of the impact of weight on Middle Gully and on the bank, because I know that when Hope Chest across the road, front street from our house, Nicanus, the engineering part of the water flow that had been under Hope Chest prior to its having a basement was ignored. And I very, very much support some sort of structural or engineering investigation of this location. Thank you.
Great. Thank you for that. And I think we would all agree. All right. Thank you, everybody. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Mr. Chair, can you take a motion to approve your comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. Sure, I can do that first. I'll take a motion to approve our comments on this Zoom meeting.
This is Mary. I'll second that.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to do a roll call here. All those in favor? Caroline Ellis,
Yes.
Mary Lathrop,
Yes.
Angus. Oh, no, sorry, Angus recused. Oh, wait, Angus on the first. Yeah,
On the
Yes.
Maury Lake.
Hi.
thank you. And Clement
Yes.
and Rob, that is unanimous. Thank you. And I will make the motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, Caroline Ellis.
Yes.
Thank you. Mary Lathrop,
Yes.
Angus McLeod,
Hi.
Clement Turkeys.
Yes, and thanks for all the comments.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. This has really been very productive, and I send you greetings from the back of the steamship terminal in Hyannis, Massachusetts. Thank you very
Thanks, Rob.
much, everybody.
Thank you, Rob.
Thanks,
Holly,
Rob.
thank you.
Thanks, Holly.
Bye, all.
Thank
Bye.
you very much.
Bye.